Well, the Health Minister has given the update this morning, but can I say good morning Queensland and good morning Cairns. It's wonderful to be back in the tropical far north, and of course some very important news that was handed down by the Prime Minister early this morning. From the outset, can I thank the Prime Minister for listening to the concerns that have been raised by residents living up in the Torres Strait, and for listening to Queenslanders. It's something that I was very strong about, that we needed to work collaboratively together in relation to the number of cases we are seeing in Papua New Guinea and the risk that that poses not just to Queensland but especially to our communities that are living in the Torres Strait. Of course, our vaccination program is underway in the Torres Strait. Already around 99 people have been vaccinated and more will be done over the coming days. But I really want to thank the Prime Minister for the comprehensive package that has been announced today about suspending those flights coming in from Port Moresby into Cairns, suspending for 2 weeks those charter flights and reducing those caps of people coming into Brisbane from Papua New Guinea. This will enable our health services to get on top of the issues, because as we do know, the number of positive cases in our hospitals at the moment of COVID, over 50% are from Papua New Guinea. So this is a really serious issue, and can I say, this is what I've always said, governments work best when they work together, and honestly, the cooperation that I've seen on this front has been first class, and I'll call it as I see it. And frankly, people living in Cairns ought to be concerned, just as I am concerned, about what is happening in Papua New Guinea. But now there's going to be a lot of support going in to help the communities up there. I note that the Prime Minister is trying to get extra vaccines, and of course our Department of Health will assist where possible as well. And he also mentioned some extra border controls will be going into place, and of course our police patrols up in the Torres Strait will also help out as well. So I think from people living in the far north, and this is another reason why I wanted to come here today, is to reassure everyone that your governments are working in your best interests. I've always said my number one priority is to keep Queenslanders safe, and that is exactly what I intend to do. I'm very pleased also to be joined today with the Tourism Minister and the Assistant Minister and local member Michael Healy, and we're going to have also a bit of a sneak peek inside the refurbishment of the Cairns Convention Centre. $176 million my government is investing in the expansion and the renovations of this centre, with the first conference to be held there in early May, and I think it's from memory a banana industry conference. And a lot of our banana growers have been impacted recently by the cyclone, and I think that's a good signal that they can all come together and talk about their issues. And on that note too, we've also been working very cooperatively with the federal government for some disaster assistance payments for our producers there of banana crops, especially in this region. So look, very good news today. It's a great relief, I think, to the Cairns community, the people up in the Cape and Torres Strait, that their governments have acted quickly and have responded to that imminent threat that's on our doorstep. So look, with those few words, I'll hand over to Sterling to say a few words, and Michael Healy, then I'm happy to answer some questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Premier. It's great to be here in Cairns again, and great to be with Michael Healy, having a chance to check out the refurbishment of the Cairns Convention Centre and understanding how important it is to be part of that refurbishment and extension of the centre. That'll contribute to the product available here in Cairns, that'll contribute to the Far North's visitor economy for many years ahead. And it is great news to see that we'll have the first of the conferences coming back in May. That's part of the work that we're doing to make sure that we not only in the longer term see international conferences coming back to Cairns, but in the meantime, while we're waiting for international borders to reopen, that we also attract more national conferences to centres like the Cairns Convention Centres and our other convention centres here in Queensland. It's wonderful to have refreshed product to be part of that process of attracting major conferences from right across Australia to enjoy not only the facilities here, but everything that the tropical north has to offer as part of the experiences of visitors as well. So wonderful opportunity to check this out today. Further opportunities over the next couple of days to hear more from tourism operators on the ground locally about how they are feeling at the moment, and working with them about further measures we can take to support them in the face of the finish of JobKeeper at the end of the month.
Thank you, Minister and Premier. Great to see you up, and thank you for coming up again. Look, just a couple of things. First and foremostly, I want to thank the Premier and acknowledge the strong cooperation that the Premier is providing, particularly with the Prime Minister. A number of people have contacted my office in relation to concerns about the spread of COVID in Papua New Guinea and being as close as we are and the frequency of flights. So I just want to say an enormous thank you, because I have had quite a number of concerned citizens contacting us. Secondly, in relation to this outstanding facility behind us, $176 million. This has been a facility that traditionally has generated around about $80 million worth of economic activity annually for our city. With this expansion and the ongoing development of this infrastructure, we will see around about $130 million a year pumped into our community once we start to see that MICE market, which is the meetings, incentives, conventions and exhibition market. Once that comes back, Cairns is going to be so well positioned to be able to capitalise on that. As we've heard today, we already have some conferences lined up. I talk to the managers of this facility on a regular basis. This is very positive news. And finally, as the Minister indicated, part of this journey today and over the next day or two with the Premier and the Minister is to continue our engagement with our tourism industry. We know as we move forward, with the international borders still closed, that this is having a significant impact on regional areas, particularly here, Kuranda, Port Douglas. We have instigated a number of initiatives, but we will continue to engage with the industry and do what we can. Thanks very much. I'll hand you over to the Premier.
Thanks, Michael. I'm happy to take some questions.
Premier, we're told Queensland Health will be sending a contingent to PNG to run vaccinations in the Western Province. Is that correct?
We'll be working with the Commonwealth. So where I left the conversation last night with the Prime Minister is that we will work out those details about how those vaccines will be administered. But we know that there are some of those bordering communities of Papua New Guinea that are very close to the Torres Strait. So of course that's going to be a priority for us to help with any vaccination program there. And also too, I think the Commonwealth is sending over PPE as well. I mean, there's a lot of families here that have loved ones in PNG and vice versa as well. I mean, we're in this together, we're neighbours, and that's what neighbours do. We help each other out.
Do you think that there will be more health staff will come up from the southern parts of the state, or it's quite
Yeah, we'll be looking at that. We'll see what the if there's any extra resources needed, but of course we'll be working with the Commonwealth as well.
Do you think the vaccine rollout in the Torres Strait will be fast-tracked even further?
Oh, look, we've got people up there, and I was very pleased to hear that already 99 people have been vaccinated, and of course there's going to be more done this week. And that's something that I saw as a priority to make sure that we get that vaccination done there as quickly as possible. And everyone's cooperating and doing the right thing. So I want to thank everyone, but I think a lot of people can rest a lot easier tonight knowing that both our governments are working together in the best interest to keep them safe. This is a real risk. It's something that we actually raised very early on in the pandemic, but we didn't see any many COVID cases in Papua New Guinea. But what we do know now is that the numbers are starting to rise, and they are quite alarming. Enough so that it was raised at the Australian Health meeting as well.
What's your take on the new program initiative launched by Tourism Australia? Is it enough to fill the water?
In terms of their tourism, I might get Sterling. He's a bit more across that. But what we do know is that our program of the vouchers has been very well received. I think over 100,000 people from memory applied for 15,000 vouchers, and that's great. And there's a real buzz in the southeast about people wanting to come to Cairns and explore everything that the far north has to offer. And I know that I talk it up as well when I'm down there as well. So hopefully we will see an increase in tourism coming here, especially over the coming months, especially when Cairns is feeling it at this particular point in time, which is usually leading into the height of their international arrivals.
Tourism operators are welcoming the vouchers, and also
Yeah.
the new announcement on the marina.
Yes.
How's this really going to help those operators there that are on their last?
Well, I think you'll find that our targeted measures are actually helping the people that need it the most. And what the industry was saying to me and to Michael and to Sterling when we were here is that one of the ways that can assist people is if we give vouchers to spend on experiences. So these are the experiences that usually the international tourists would do. So that's what we've done. But unfortunately, I don't believe that the federal government's package has been targeted. And we know that JobKeeper is coming to an end at the end of this month. And I'll have more to say about this tomorrow.
Insisted that your government has followed the LNP on the marine fees.
No, we actually put that in place very early on, but I know that Sterling wants to talk a little bit more about that, and we've extended that relief, and it's something that the operators raised with us very, very early on. So I might get Sterling to elaborate.
Can I just ask a question
Yeah.
about Cape York? As you may be aware, traditional owners have closed parts of Cape York to the public. Is the state government liaising with traditional owners in relation to that, and will there be any funding for extra amenities up there?
Yeah, well, look, we're always happy to talk to anyone that is looking for further amenities. So, look, I'm very happy to get people involved with having those discussions as soon as possible.
Well, Premier, Tourism Australia have done some figure crunching, and they say that their survey showed that getting stuck by a snap border closure is more of a diversion to travel than the actual fear of catching COVID. What do you say about that?
I don't think so. I think COVID is, we're in the midst of a world pandemic, and Australia's done really well, and Queensland's done very well. We've kept Queenslanders safe, and the measures we've taken have helped save lives. They've prevented people from going into hospitals. That's the number one thing that people come up and say to me is, they say, you've worked together to keep us safe. So, I've often raised the issue of regional quarantine. Regional quarantine would enable free flowing of movements of people between the cities. But whilst we have hotel quarantine in our major capital cities, and whilst we are still allowing large numbers of people, returning Australians coming home, and of course we all support that, there's a lot of parents out there and loved ones that, want to get their families home. I absolutely appreciate that. But we are dealing now with highly infectious strains. And these highly infectious strains are spreading in our hotels. And as I've said previously, our hotels are not hospitals. They were never meant to prevent the spread of a highly infectious disease. So our workers are doing an incredible job. But we have seen now that there has been community transmission that has been spread in hotels in a lot of jurisdictions across Australia. So we're not immune to it. We have to be on our guard. And thankfully, all of the contact tracing that's been happening with that PA doctor has come out very positive. On our teleconference this morning, both Dr. Young and Dr. Bennett were very happy with those results coming in negative. So, we're very thankful for that.
What a different sort of topic. Some of your female colleagues have described their experience of being sexually harassed and assaulted. I guess, how important is it for people in places of power to speak out about it?
Yeah, I think it's very brave, and I do really want to commend people who are coming out, and a lot of people went to that march and they felt very deeply about it. I went along, and I know Minister Sterling Hinchcliffe was there. Most of our cabinet went along to show our support, and I think what it shows is that something may have happened to you a long, long time ago, and sometimes it surfaces decades later. And what we need to do is support one another. And I think I've often said that, one voice can be small, but together we can be a roar. And these are real issues that happen across different workplaces, in fact, all workplaces. And women need to make sure that they have the right support around them, and I think good men also need to show respect, and it's good to see that people are speaking up. they're very brave, very brave. I might just get Sterling to address those issues.
One more, sorry, on Clive Palmer. He's announced he's going to be rebuilding his pool and resort on the Sunshine Coast to stimulate local economy and to boost tourism. He's calling on the state government to step up their investment in the industry. What is your response to that?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Thank you, Premier. There were a couple of issues there that were raised that I wouldn't mind addressing. One in relation to the Tourism Australia announcement. Welcome the work that they're doing in further promotion and telling the story of domestic travel and encouraging more Australians to experience more of different parts of Australia. And certainly the tropical far north will be a great recipient of that exploration, because there are so many fantastic different experiences and opportunities here in the tropical north. Equally, the way in which we do that is make sure we support those experiences, and we can support those experiences through things like the decision by Ports North to see an extension of the support to reef operators in terms of their berth and marina fees, and we'll see that as an extension of the remission, the 100% remission on the berth and marina fees through to the middle of this year, and then a tapering off based upon the numbers of the public that are using their experiences and operations going forward in comparison to what it was in a pre-COVID environment. So a good measure that will support those operators and see them through some of the continued challenges as we see rebuilding of that of those experiences and operations. And part of that rebuilding is our Cairns holiday dollars. I'm pleased to report that as of this morning, there's out of the 15,000 vouchers that have been awarded to some of the 106,000 Queenslanders who expressed an interest. There's been 160 already redeemed, some 64,000, almost $64,000 worth of experiences in the local economy with local operators are redeemed already, and that's been across some 38 different operators here in the Tropical North, and that's just in a few days. So as we see that continue through to the end of June, that's going to provide great opportunities to support those operators and to encourage, as we've seen, encourage the domestic visitors from Queensland to spend more like international visitors. And we'll also see from this weekend again the second stage of our Good to Go campaign to align with the proposals coming from Tourism Australia as we promote Queensland to the rest of Australia and encourage particularly people from Sydney and Melbourne to come and enjoy everything that Queensland has to offer. And we know that that'll particularly align very well with the opportunities that will see some of those interstate visitors come back to far north Queensland and enjoy the experiences here.
But Minister, is it enough? I mean, all these announcements from different bodies, obviously state government's pitching in, really, ultimately, JobKeeper is gone, and that's a lot of operators that have. I mean, what do you do?
Well, I think it's a great challenge, and certainly I would continue to advocate, as I have done consistently, including in conversations with the Federal Tourism Minister last week after their $1.2 billion announcement of effectively a bunch of supports for airlines, that it was vitally important that a form of JobKeeper continues for on-the-ground operators to help them see their way through. I've said consistently that JobKeeper was a very welcome and very appropriate measure when it was brought in, and it was somewhat of a sledgehammer. But what is needed now from the Australian government is more of a scalpel approach, a finer tool that delivers the sort of support that JobKeeper provides to our internationally exposed industry while international borders remain closed. The measures that we're taking will help continue to support those operators, but nothing will be like the income support that JobKeeper has been. So to see it finishing at the end of March is a great risk. And there'll be more that we have to say over the next couple of days.
Just back on the state support, do you think David physically is taking undue credit in saying your government was following the LNP's lead, the student trips to the reef and now the marina fee waiving extension?
Well, there's quite a few different things which he seems to conflate. At one point he was actually calling on the federal government to do something, and that was actually something that relates to a student campaign and process that resolves around federal government subsidies to students going to Canberra. That's not what our program does. Our program to support students coming in and learning about the reef is all about extending a Queensland government program that we've had traditionally to get students to go to the outback. So this is something that we're taking to extend to support our industry right across the visitor economy, right across the Great Barrier Reef. It's not copying anything that others have put forward. It's what we've initiated, and we were having talks with industry and education specialists about this late last year.
Thank you.